We're live, and I got it on time. We're gonna see if this works because the last one of these that I just tried, it actually like wasn't working. Like no one could find the video. So hopefully it behaves now. All right, let me see if I can comment and mute and pause at everyone. Unless they took away our everyone. Maybe they took away our everyone. That would be super sad. It would make me feel terrible. Not that terrible. I'm all right. Make me feel terrible. Yeah, they might have taken away our everyone. Well, that's a bummer. Jill can't do it either. Shucky poo darn. Anyway, we'll sally forth. Um, so this is like for us like 10 days out from flying to Vegas, which is kind of nuts that's like this close right now. I wouldn't say I'm nervous or anything like that, but I'm like starting to feel all the things that need to be done. Jill, you could do followers then, honey. That might work. We'll give that a shot. Jill certainly feels that more than I do. She's more of like an in advance prepare person, and I'm kind of like I can pack the day before and be okay. I've gone through phases though. I've gone through phases actually where I used to pack for events like a week or two in advance, and I feel like I've kind of like streamlined my personal process a bit. I actually haven't unpacked my makeup from when we went to Canada, so it's all still my travel makeup bag, which makes part of that a little bit easier. Jill got me that for Christmas, and it was life changing. It like unfolds into four things, and you can put all of your makeup stuff in it, and you can hang it on a hook. So you can hang it like a shower rod or something like that. And so I have it hanging in my room right now, and so I didn't need to unpack all my makeup, and it was super handy. Um, Look at that, Jill's very excited there with that comment. It's like right now, be there or be square. That's how we roll. I'm just gonna open this up in another window though, so I can actually see names on the comments because that makes me happy. All right, so yeah. Um, oh, thank you, Alexa. Alexa informs you when there's motion at our garage camera. So yeah, so I'm actually feeling pretty good most time now about going on trips. Although Vegas, like author conferences are a little more complicated for me because I dress extravagantly every day. You might have noticed from my lives, I don't do that every day. I did for a while. I want to say like for the first 2 years or so after I transitioned, I like did a lot of costumey things. I was also kind of aided by the fact that we went into pandemic and I sort of had the opportunity. I wasn't going anywhere ever, so I might as well do that. And Eva, I didn't have to drive Eva to school, so I had like this extra hour in the morning to do that sort of thing. I don't have that now, but before I go to conferences, I do try on every outfit that I'm going to wear just to make sure I have all the components and everything looks good. You know, my weight gain or loss, mostly gain, hasn't affected the outfit too much. So that will absolutely happen before we go. So that will actually probably take up like a day next week, all of that process. But yeah, we're pretty stoked for Vegas. If you see either of us there, come up and say hi. We're like super friendly and love talking with people and are never too busy to say hi to people, unless I'm making a beeline for the bathroom you know because I've had to actually this year is pretty easy. Last year I had like two back-to-back talks, and I was like there's one period where I was just like all but running to the bathroom. And it's a bunch of people want to talk to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go. My outfit's complicated. It takes a while to get to do it. I gotta run. um, but anyway, this is really weird that there's like no one watching at all still. I don't I don't know what to make of this. Oh, is that why it's not appearing in the group? Oh, it's so much more fun to do these with a live audience, though. It's kind of like, gee, I'm all by myself. Maybe I should also add my wall. I'm gonna add my wall, my profile, whatever that's called these days, and get this going to a few more people. Maybe that will help spark it up a bit, bring it up a notch. Oh, hey, we got people. Ashley and Karen. Hi. How are you guys doing? You should do that. Yes, honey. Paste the link in the group. That'd be good too. Um, every now and then it happens where you go live and Facebook's like, nah, we've decided that no one gets to see this one. Suck it up. But maybe some more people will see. We'll square that away. But yeah, so super stoked about Vegas. I've got coffee planned with 2 people now. But I actually keep my calendar really open. I don't go to the events at night as much. Partially because we bring our daughter with us, and I don't want to go leave Jill alone, or nor does Jill want to leave me alone too much if we have to go off to events at other places. So we try to stay like around Paris and the Horseshoe, formerly Bali's, and just like have nice small dinners with people and grab coffee here and there and stuff like that. Go to the crepe place, which apparently there's a bit of a crepe breakfast happening with Jill on Sunday, I think. So yeah, excited. It's gonna be great, and I'm around. Like if you're like curious, or you're like, hey, maybe Mal and Jill want to come for dinner with us, ask us. We might be free. Because I like the impromptu stuff. So I try not to book my schedule up ahead of time. And it's like FOMO one way or the other, right? If you book your schedule up ahead of time, you have FOMO that you might have missed out on impromptu things. And if you keep your schedule free for impromptu things, you have FOMO about all of the event planned things that you don't go to. It's always exciting. Let's see. Oh yeah, it'd be awesome to see you too, Karen. And following the 60 baby in action. Thanks, Ashley. I'm excited too, and nervous. I'm always a little bit nervous. Nutella, crepes, bananas. Yes, right. Is good stuff. And Jody, everybody's here now. Hooray! The link in the group worked. The system works in some fashion or other. Yeah, so I still have like a solid week of work I'm going to be doing on Solaris before Vegas, because there's some things I want to button down. I've been expanding the number of people that have access to it. And so, of course, been finding some new bugs and edge cases and corner cases. Corner cases are where 2 edge cases meet. And while it sounds like semantics, it really is a thing where like a person who does this oddball thing here and does this oddball thing here sometimes do them at the same time. And then you're like, holy crap, I never even imagined that those edge cases could happen to begin with, let alone the corner case. So you got to work your way through them. That's always like the software developers' problem, is like we test our software the way we intended it to be used, but that's not the way it gets used. And I embrace that. I think it's amazing. I love it when people like I write software and people use it in ways I never imagined. It's like the best thing ever. So I'm always stoked about that sort of thing. Yeah, it didn't show up in the group, Jody. I put it on my profile to see if a few more people see it, and then Jill added a link to the group. It's kind of weird, and we can't tag everybody. It's like not working right now. So either we're in the doghouse with Facebook for some reason, or it's just a bug that they're having, which has happened before actually. So I'm going to dive in and kind of show everybody what's there, what's going on, and you can check out Solaris and start using it. There is, by the way, a Discord channel as well. So once you get in, if you have any problems, any questions or whatnot, you'll be able to join Discord and do some things there. I am going to add in like a bit more like a form and a support system, but for now, Discord is the support. So I'm sorry if Discord makes you sad. Hopefully it doesn't, but that it is what it is, I guess. All right. So anyway, here we are with Solaris. This is the main page. The URL is solarisoptima.com. So I'm just put that in here. Like you can sign up, join up, get on board. Like, what should I write? Solaris at what is the Discord service like? When you log in, you'll see it's at the top of the screen. Unless I took it out. I don't think I took it out. And suddenly have like this crisis of faith. All right. So anyway, here we are. I just recently added this section on the front page because Jill's like, you don't actually have like a sign up button on the front page. There was a button in the upper right that would say register if you're not logged in, but this makes a ton of sense. So I put this little basic thing just showing what you get with Solaris and then the pricing. The tier 1 and tier 2 plans that currently exist, eventually there will be additional plans that will be subscription, but these 2 plans are pay once, have it forever. I should probably put that on here as well. I meant to, and then I forgot to say, hey, like you don't have to keep paying. This is not a monthly fee or anything like that. Like if you want the read through calculator, you've been using my spreadsheet for forever, or someone else's spreadsheet or your own spreadsheet, and you're tired of doing that. You just pay $10 once, and then you get to use the read through calculator that's in Solaris, and it will actually store and remember all of the different read throughs that you've done in the past. Uh, Oh, so this is right now, it doesn't sync anything automatically. That's not a feature I have yet. Eventually it will, and it should work with suspended accounts. I never tested it with like a contingently restored KDP account. But I can't imagine that data wouldn't sync with an account like that. So it should work. But these perma-free tiers, or not perma-free, buy once have forever tiers don't do any automatic data sync or anything like that. That'll be part of subscription tiers later on, which should work with that. I'm going to pop into the dashboard. You don't volunteer as tribute. That's good to know. So yeah, here it is right here. When you log in, there's a link to join the Discord server. If you have any questions and whatnot, you can pop in there and ask them. There is a thing to join the alpha testers, but that's actually full. So if you see that and you ask to join the alpha testers, I probably won't let you in. It's not because I don't like you. It's just because I've got a lot, and I think I'm good on that. I might open it up again in the future. So you can always put a request in there saying like, hey, consider me for next time you're looking for more alpha testers. But for now, we're good. So some of the things are in here. The basic thing is the ad score. You might have seen this before. This is something that we've had on our website for a while, and I sort of rebuilt it and ported it over here. This is actually a great thing if you, this is free forever for everybody. You can sign up and just use this for free if you'd like. You put in some basic information about your daily budget, whether or not you're using dynamic creative, what kind of thing you're writing. And there's not a lot of options in here because these are the selections that most greatly, is that a word to use, that most significantly affect the income outcome. So if I were to say, I write, contemporary romance and KU, and it's going to say, well, okay, well, Facebook should be spending at least $4.50 a day, because sometimes Facebook actually doesn't spend all your money. You're like, yes, it does. You're like, hey, this is amazing. If you write contemporary romance, your audience size should be over 1 million. It's very easy to get over 1 million with contemporary romance. And so you'll say yes, and it's like, this is great. If you say no, then there's a video, which opens up really small in here, but you can just open it directly on YouTube, and then you'll get a full-size video. So, we'll close that. We don't need me talking there. I'm already talking. No one can handle two Mallorys. We talk too fast. It would destroy the space-time continuum. But it'll walk you through a lot of these things. And if I wasn't writing contemporary romance, say I was writing other fiction, which is more genre fiction, it will change some of these options for the sizes of things and the expected cost per result. Like genre romance, your cost per click should be under 18 cents is the idea. If you're writing contemporary romance, it should be under 16 cents USD. And then if it's not, you'll get a video. And if it is, then it's like, hooray, you did the good thing. So a great tool to use if you just want some basic advice. There's probably about 45 minutes of me providing advice on different scenarios if you go through this. So there's a lot of great information in here that could be very, very helpful for you. If you go back to the dashboard, you can then dive into some of the other tools. Now, when you first sign up, all that you have access to is the ad score. If you want to get access to read through or the other tools, ROI analysis, pricing planner, then you'll have to upgrade. I am currently already upgraded, being myself, and it'll tell you what your current plan is. And then if you start on free, then you'll have buttons to actually pay for tier 1 or tier 2. All of the credit card processing goes through Stripe, which is like the same company that Kickstarter uses and whatnot to handle credit card processing. We never see your credit cards. We have no access to your financial information, your address, anything. All we know is that it processed for the right amount, and then we're good to go. So you don't have to, that's a security thing, right? Like I don't want to be holding on to people's credit card numbers or anything like that. I got enough to worry about that of course all that's offloaded and it's secure and whatnot. So we have that built into the system as well. Right now, let me just pop back to the main screen. Right now, if you buy tier 2, which will get you the ad scoring tool, obviously because it's free, the read-through calculator, the ROI estimator, and the pricing planner, it's $5 off. If you buy tier 1 and then upgrade, the way the pricing works right now, you'll pay 25. You don't get that $5 discount if you buy one and upgrade to the other. So you might want to go all in. And as we add new features to the products in these tiers, you'll actually get those features as well. Anything up, and so long as the stuff that isn't automated. Once we move the automated stuff, where we start like pulling data from all the different places you run ads and whatnot, that will be subscription based, because it takes a lot more effort on our side to build and maintain all of that. Cute little Mal, that's me, just tiny on the screen. So, and of course, before you can use the read-through calculator, Solaris needs to know about your books. So you can actually manage all of your books. So I've got great ones here, like ASD. You can tell that I do some testing in here. You can add series, and then you add books to series. And then, of course, once you have them, you can edit those books and series. So you can put in, your book name. Once you've added series, you put what series it belongs to, the order, the ASIN, and the KENPC number, and then the book price. Of course, you only put in the KENPC if the book is in Kindle Unlimited. And that's the number of pages that KU thinks your book has. I've on my to-do list before Vegas even to add a little thing explaining where to get this number. But if you're not familiar with where to get that number, it's actually on your bookshelf. If you go to a book on your bookshelf and you click on edit ebook, or sorry, KDP select info, just mouse on the wrong one, start reading it. KDP select info, and of course this is only if your book's in KU. Close that, scroll down here, it tells you how many pages your book has in KU, which is going to be different than your print book, and different than anything else. It's their own way of calculating pages. So that's when someone, if you get 500, if I were to get 507 page reads in the report, and only 507 page reads, I could reasonably assume that someone had read the entire book, and that's how that works. So Solaris needs to know that to then had read in the book into like roughly how many full reads that probably was. So yeah, of course, yeah. If you guys have questions or anything you're interested about, or just like, could it do this for me? Drop them in. Be happy to hear about that. So you can add all your books in here, organize them. It works with KU books, non-KU books. It even works with books that are mixtures, or series that are mixtures, like book one's wide and the rest are in KU. That was one of those lovely edge cases I ran into, right? I'm like, oh yeah, people actually do that. I should probably make it work with that. So it's had a good number of authors put their information here and test it. I think at this point, about 120 people have gone in and used it. So I've got a good batch, and I've even had about 30 people go through the upgrade process with the credit card processing, all that. So that is all tested and whatnot as well. That's not to say that there won't be bugs, but there a lot of them have been sussed out. I'm sure that people will find new ones, but I am committed to getting them fixed and keeping this thing rolling. Just because these are all tools I've always wanted, and I have this grand roadmap that's actually probably going to cover the next 3 or 4 years of adding more and more features to this. So there's a lot that I want to do. And of course, the great thing too is that it's based on, at this point, 11 years of having books on Amazon and selling books on Amazon. So it's hopefully going to be things I find useful, be useful for everybody. But if I go to read through, the first thing you do is you pick your series. So pick, the Orion War. I've already done 2 read through calculations for this book. So I have the data. That's one of the great things too, where if you're running a spreadsheet or something like that, you've got to like switch tabs, and it can be inconvenient to find all the information, or maybe you don't remember where you saved the last spreadsheet, or you overwrote your previous information. This system will keep it for you. And if you do a new read through calculation, you just pick your start and your end date. Someone said you couldn't go back before this year, but I totally can. I have to dig into that more with them. Maybe they just didn't try scrolling. So you pick your dates for what when you're calculating your read through, your begin date and end date. I'll just pick this month, and then you would put in how many sales you got. 12, 9, 7. Hopefully it's better than this, but you never know, right? Actually, if you're like Contemporary Romance, you could see numbers like this, like 120,000 page reads and 12 sales. That's like totally a thing that can happen. And then you put in all whatever your numbers might be for that time period. You calculate read through. It does it, and then you have it in your list, and then you can click on it. I should probably reverse order that, so the newest one's on top. All those little things you don't think about as you're using it on a demo. That's how it goes. I wrote software from about, I want to say 2006 or 2004 till 2016 very heavily, and I've actually been doing some amount of software since 1995, and it's always like that during demos. You're always like, oh, that would have been amazing, that idea that I just had. I wish I could have coded that in before the demo. But it gives you this nice graph for your read through, which I think is really useful. The previous, when you're doing a spreadsheet, it obviously looks like a spreadsheet, which is not the nicest way to convey this data. Not everybody does super well with this information. We can see by the numbers I put in here, like this is my drop from book 1 to book 2. The blue line is reads, the red line is sales. I also see my book over book percentages. So I see between book 1 and book 2 that my book over book percentage actually goes up for reads. I had 69% of the 69% of the people read from book 1 to book 2, but 86% of the people that were on book 2 read on to book 3. So even though you might see your cumulative numbers drop in your series, your book over books may climb. And we oftentimes see that, right? Like once someone gets to book 3 or 4 in your series, chances are you've got them, so long as you don't screw anything up, and they're just going to keep reading. And then we also show, like, when you sell book 1, you make this much money in sales, 342, and you make this much money in reads. And then the percentages slowly drop money-wise, just like they drop in volume of reads-wise. So every time I sell book 1, I will also make this much money on book 3. And then you get those numbers sort of in the more spreadsheety looking form down here as well. Same information, just presented a different way for people who like that sort of thing. But the main information you have up here is every time you sell book 1, you make $7.70. And every time someone reads all the way through book 1, you're going to make $6.07. And this particular number is unrealistic. You're like, how on earth is this value $99? And that's just because there are so few sales that happen and so many reads, that what this means is every time you sell book 1, or this imaginary scenario, they sold book 1, they would actually make $99 because of how many books they have read for every book that they sell. So it can be a way of sort of projecting sales. I probably should have used better data to show you guys this example, but I can show you guys another example because they're all in here. This is more rational numbers. So you can see in this particular scenario, every time book 1 sells, this particular author would make $6.41 based on the ratios of sales and all that sort of thing. All right, I got a couple of questions here. 1 to 2 years. Well, there's the 1 to 2 years that I've been talking about, honey, but I have like another 2 years of crazy wild ideas beyond that. So Karen says, question, do you put your book in your ebook or paperback in your management, or both? Right now it's just digital. I don't have paperback built into it. And the reason being is I would also then need to have the printing costs for each book to properly calculate all this for paperback. So if you sell a ton of paperbacks, you could put them in here just as sales. Just know the numbers may be a little bit less accurate because of that, but they would still give you good read-through percentages. I am going to add like explicit paperback support, but because for most authors, they don't sell that many paperbacks, I didn't focus on it for this initial phase, but it will come. And of course, if you buy it, you'll get the paperback editions when they come. I'm not going to gate those features or anything like that. Ashley says, I love the system keeps prior calculations. Is there a way to add a note to the calculations? Yeah, Ashley, you make a really good point about just leaving notes and whatnot. I have another tool that's going to come in next year, that's going to allow you to note events. So you can be like, had a book club, book launch, all these different events that go throughout the year. And then it could actually flag. I want to make it so it would be like, remember, during the time period for this read through calculation, you ran a 99-cent promo for 3 days or something like that. So I'm going to build all that in, and I want to make it really dynamic. So you attach, whenever you make a note, you'll be like, what's the time frame this affected, and which series and or specific books did it affect, and then any sort of information about that stuff will then flag and say, don't forget you did this thing at this point, because that's super important, right? Knowing that stuff. So Jill's just mentioning something to Ines. She says this might complicate things, but how does running a price drop promo factor in? Is the way this? So that will be part of the note system as well. And of course, I actually am going to include a video. I have some videos I want to make to go in these things that basically say hey, if you're going to be running a read through calculation for this, try to pick a time period that's 2 weeks away, like is buffered by 2 weeks from whenever you did any price promos. So you let's say for the first week of June you did a 99-cent run, then maybe you like do a calculation from April to middle of May, or from third week of June out to the end of September or something like that. Try to avoid those time periods because they can screw up your read through a bit. So that's sort of my general advice. I wish there was like a foam padded thing I could make where it would always work perfectly, but some of it's always going to require a bit of like interpretation and context, to make sense of all of the numbers. Can you delete a read through in case you messed up? I will have that done before Vegas, Jennifer. It's like near the top of my to-do list. The ability to either edit your dates if you put the wrong dates in, or to just delete the read through entirely. In fact, if the fates allow, what I'm also going to do, I'm going to make it so you can make ad hoc read throughs. So you can like just pick whatever ad hoc time. And hey, you're here, Jennifer. You were the one that I think, if you didn't see, you can just scroll to go to earlier dates. Jennifer was the one that had said that she couldn't see prior years. But if you can't, let me know, because I'm using a built-in browser. Like the browser is providing this date picker, and maybe some browsers I have to give them specific commands to go further back. So that still might be an issue. But anyway, right now it's like it lets you pick whatever date range you want, totally ad hoc. But I'm going to add in another option to also put in like your monthly rolling read throughs, and then this page will actually have a graph of your ongoing read through rates, like what they look like what your book 1 to 2 read through looks like, and what your series total read through looks like. It'll graph them out so you can see throughout the year, is my read through getting better, is my read through getting worse? And that can be really good. Like, hey, you go through and you improve your back matter, you improve your blurbs in later books, all sorts of things, and you can see. Or maybe you fix a bunch of typos, or you change an ending a bit because everybody hated the ending you wrote. You could actually see like, hey, did my read through improve? So that's going to be, with any luck before Vegas, that will actually be built into this system as well. So you can get like those overall cumulative read throughs. I'm like that too, Ashley. I'm like all the data, and I am getting like more and more data as this goes on too. Like it's gonna be great as more authors use this and put and feed information in. I'm gonna be able to say like, oh, I could do this with the data I have. There's things I haven't even thought of yet. I'm sure that will come to mind as I start like digging into what we have. Actually, well, one thing that's going to be really cool that I'm going to be doing is eventually I'm going to allow authors, and you'll get to choose whether or not you want to participate in this with your data. You can choose to say like, hey, I want to make my data available for general assessment. I'll figure out some sort of wording for it that makes sense. But then you can say like, hey, you can add my data to the general assessment, and then you can characterize all of your books. So you'll be able to say like, I write romance, I embody these particular tropes in my books, and so on and so forth. And then the system will then show you how your books compare in read through to books like yours, which I think could be pretty interesting too. But again, I'm going to allow people to opt into that system, not opt out. You'll have to opt in, and then we can start maybe getting some really cool industry data that we can all use as well to understand like, hey, am I doing all right? Did I make a mistake? Is this okay? Because sometimes I think we all, as authors, we worry that there's something we don't know that everybody else knows. And if we only knew it, we'd be doing better. And we spend more time, we second guess ourselves and sometimes ruin a good thing by doing that. So I think having some solid information will help everybody. Yeah, basically K-lytics for Solaris. It's going to be pretty cool. I mean, ultimately, one of the things I'll be ultimately doing is actually basically building something like Book Report into this as well. And at that point, I kind of could do K-lytics as well, but don't tell them, because I'll have all the data. It's like, I love data. So anyway, the read through is pretty, it's pretty standard, pretty straightforward. It's, exactly what you'd expect. It's giving you data on your read through, and you can look for drops and whatnot and be like, oh man, read through between book 4 and 5 like plummets, which normally it shouldn't do. It should stay pretty flat, and your book over book read through maybe should even be climbing. And it doesn't. Your book over book read through from 4 to 5 just plummets. And you'd be like, okay, I did something wrong in book 4 that pissed people off. Or maybe my back matter has a mistake. I've worked with authors who have the wrong link in their back matter. It goes to the wrong book. So it'll be really good, I think, for helping us to diagnose issues like that. Back on the dashboard, the next thing over is the ROI analysis. And ROI analysis lets you to basically determine for a given period, and it uses the read-through data for this. This is where things get kind of fancy. It merges your marketing results with your read-through data to help figure out how well your marketing is working at a given point. So you would pick a read-through period. I'll pick this big long one. It then pulls up some of your read-through data to say like, hey, you know, your book one sales read-through percent is 29%, and your reads read-through percent is 67%, which is great. And your series totals are these numbers, et cetera, et cetera. So some of the highlights from read-through show up in here. I have a to-do for myself. I need to add a video to this to sort of explain a bit how to use it. So that will be coming in the next couple of days. And you say like, okay, between January 1st and January 14th or July 14th, what was my ad spend? So we'll just say it's 4,000. I'm going to make the numbers simple for myself here. The sales royalties is estimating based off your read-through numbers, because we've already told when you put in your read-through numbers, you're putting in your sales and reads for each book in this time period. So the system has a pretty good idea of what your royalties should be. Now that could be differentiated a little bit by like reads in Germany aren't worth as much as reads in the United States. For example, the page read rates are different country by country. Exchange rates in general can play. So it's an estimation of how much money the system thinks you made. You put in then your actual money that you made. By the way, it's not super concerned about which currency you use as long as you're just consistent with your currency. So we'll just say 1,800 in sales and 1,900 in KU, and we'll put in a rate. I'm probably gonna make a drop down for this. So you have to type it in, and then I'll say how many clicks you got at 4,000. It should be at least like 20,000 clicks with that much money. You also can pick the book that you're advertising. Theoretically, you're advertising book one in your series, but that's not always the case. You know, books that can be read, series that can be read out of order. Sometimes it'd be book three converts better for paid advertising than book two. So you might pick a different book. And then also, by the way, when you put these numbers in, this is cumulative. So this is how much you spent on AMS and Facebook. And if you're running something like BookBub ads or Pinterest ads or who knows what, you would put in your cumulative ad spend, and then you would put in your cumulative clicks that you got across all the ads that you were running. That's BookBub ads, not BookBub featured deals. Those would be a different thing. So you hit calculate ROI, and then you get this lovely little page that gives you a bunch of cool data about your about this is actually, I put in some funny information here. So this is good though, right? I spent $4,000 and I made less than $4,000, and the system's like, whoa, girl, you lost $300, and your ad spend as a percentage of royalties is 108%, which means you spent more money than you made, which this also shows you. It's just the same information, two different ways. It does give you your average cost per click, and then it gives you your series ROI that you're currently making -7%. And then this is just another way of looking at the data, right? Your blue should be bigger than your red on this particular graph. Let's go and change this. I might have a bug right now because I'm working. Yeah, I've got an issue where if you change the data, it gets grouchy. That's on the list to hopefully get fixed for tomorrow. So I just have to start a new one. Ironically, I introduced that bug when I was trying to make all of my these things all work under a bunch of different circumstances, because right now they're being kind of flaky. So I made a bug somewhere else. That's the joys of software development, though. Combined ad clicks. This should we'll say it's like 13,000. So now we'll calculate our ROI, and now we'll see. Look, we made money, and so a lot of the stuff in the system is also dynamic insofar as the coloring. You know, before that was red, now it's green. And now my ad spend percentage of royalties is 54%, where ideally you kind of want this to be around 30%. Not too much higher, not too much lower, actually, is what that should be. And my series ROI is now 85% that I make. So any money I put into this series based on the performance of my ads in this time period, I'm going to almost double my money, which is not a bad thing, actually. Other cool stuff that's down here is your sales analysis separated from your KU analysis. So the sales analysis is saying that basically every time you sell a book, so minus your ad spend costs, you're making $2.29. And what I do is I look at the money you spent and the royalties you made, and I basically divide. I say that, okay, if 10% of your money is coming from sales, then 10% of your ad spend was driving sales, and then 90% was driving KU. And I break things out that way. Also, in this particular scenario, the series is profitable on book one. So when someone is done reading book one, you have made 43 cents on this particular series. And it's actually selling quite a few books. The number of clicks that it's actually taking to sell a book is 2, which is pretty good. It should be green. And then on the advertised book only, it tells you what your royalties are on that book alone, and then how much profit you make on the first book, which ends up being, in this case, the same number as our profitability, because the series is profitable on the first book. So you get some interesting information on that, like how much money you're actually like making at various points in the sell-through process with the reader. This particular one is from the read side is a little bit different. How many pages you're getting read per click. This is actually an insane number. No one gets 283 pages read per click, partially because I just sort of like roughed in some data as I was typing. Normally, you're probably only going to get about maybe like 20 in a really good scenario, maybe a little bit higher pages read per click. But the interesting thing here is like the cost of a page read on my advertised book only, so on book one, is 0.005, where I actually only make 0.004 on a page read. So the system is basically like you lose money on book one. And we can see this in KU, this series is not profitable until book two, mainly because you make less money in KU is kind of how this breaks down. So you get to see this information separately. And while I make more money in KU overall, it takes a little bit more time to make that money. So my read through for profitability matters a bit more in KU than it does in sales. I'm actually a little bit better off out of the gate with sales. And I could expound upon all of the data behind all of these things at length. And I might actually make a video or really dig into some of the numbers for folks, but I don't want to make anyone's head explode right now. But interestingly, it's like, hey, you actually had a loss on book one, but it's okay because you have a 3-book series. And the system is sensitive to how long your series is too. If you have a really long series, it might be like, hey, you lost $3 on book one, still okay because you have a 20-book series. Whereas if you lost 92 cents on a 2-book series, it would be like, whoa, that's a bit of a problem because you really are counting on that read through now to be able to make your profit back. And a lot of the coloring and where the graphs turn red and whatnot is actually all dependent on that sort of thing too. So I'm super proud of this particular tool. You have said before that you hate green. I could possibly do theme customization. It may be something that I could do down the road. Not high on my feature list though, actually, I'm sorry. So, but I'll definitely keep it in mind. And I don't actually have a ton of time to dig into this last feature, but it's the pricing planner. And the idea here is, again, you pick a series and you pick a read through, and then it'll actually show you like, hey, if you change the price on a given series, what would happen? What would your read through look like? How would it shift? And how would your profits change? If I raise book one from $4.99 to $7.99, the system projects that basically I'm going to lose money. It figures I'll make some more money on reads, but I'm going to lose enough money on sales that I'll be worse off changing that price. This tool is definitely still in beta. I've got a lot I want to do with it, but part of it's going to be getting a lot more data into the system so I can start like modeling some more advanced stuff. But right now, I think it can provide like an interesting bit of insight into what could happen if you make certain changes. And the funny thing too, speaking of edge cases, is one of the very first people that wanted to try this out had first in series free, which it doesn't work for. So that's always the way it is though, right? But it's going to keep me going and having fun. So yeah, you can check it out and play around with it. Again, this one's in beta. It's mostly just for you to sort of get an idea from. Eventually, I'm going to have enough data behind it. I'm going to be able to give you much more solid predictions about what will happen when you make price changes. Part of that will be fueled by that opt-in book survey feature that I'll be adding in early next year as well. So that'll make it even so the system can be like, okay, in this genre, how do these price points work? Because it is price dependent, or it is genre dependent. So Jill wants customized colors too. All right, we can do that. I've got 2 votes for it now. If that helps. So there you have it, folks. You can go to solarisoptima.com. You can check it out, and just use the ad score tool for free, or you can upgrade and play around with the read through calculator and the ROI tool, and start using them for making some decisions and analyzing your ads. Lots of new cool things are coming. Like I mentioned, there'll be read through progression over time will be calculated, and on that main page you're going to get some cool data that way, some more quality of life things like editing and deleting read through calculations and that sort of thing. I have a number of UI improvements that we'll be making, some more help videos we tucked into it, whatnot, and most of that the overtime read through thing won't be ready for Vegas. I mean, I have a stretch goal to see if I can get that monthly read through in by Vegas, but I don't know that I can for sure, so I'm not going to promise that. But a lot of like spit and polish is already been coded, and I just have to work on pushing it up, and getting it all in there. Pardon me, and adding in the videos and more help stuff, especially, is going to be a big thing that'll be coming as well. Thanks, Ashley. Jennifer wants more green. Oh, thank you, Judith. I really appreciate that too. And yeah, I feel like it is kind of an investment, because it's it's going to encourage more and more work and progression and development in this, which I think will be good for everybody who uses it. So that's great. Oh man, I am like parched. That was like just me speed talking for an hour almost. There we go. And one other feature that we do have as well that's in here is it's not working yet, but there are team systems coming. I have the menu in here, but eventually you can create your teams now, but you can't grant them access quite yet. I'm still working on getting that tested, but you'll actually be able to make it so other people can log in and see your data, and they don't have to like use your account or something like that. And building that from the ground up as well, so that it works properly as things go on. And then for those of you who are particular about security, which everybody should be, you can even enable two-factor authentication, and then you can install like a two-factor device on your phone, and then be able to use that to further secure your account. And I always use two-factor authentication to log in, so that I'm taking that seriously and making sure that all the data in the system is being secured as much as possible. It's the system is like it's hosted in the cloud, but it's locked down so much that only people basically sitting at my computer can access the servers to do things. You have to have the right IP address, and the databases can only be accessed from the servers. You can't access the databases that house the information from anywhere else. So it's not like they're exposed to the entire internet. So I am taking a security first stand on everything too, because I'm holding a lot of people's data, and I take that responsibility really seriously. So yep, agency VA accounts, exactly. Like imagine you're running ads for someone and you need to use their read through information to understand if the ads are profitable or not. Boom, add them to your team, let them log in. Now they can look at your data. They can see if it's all working. It's very nice, Carmen. I feel the same way about heads exploding and whatnot. But yes, Jill's right. I have a call starting in 5 minutes for our advanced Facebook ads class, so I need to go off and do that. But thanks for attending, everybody, for hanging out. I'm glad that let me shoot this. I'm glad that finally we got the video showing up. The first attempt, no one could see it at all. Facebook was just giving us a bit of trouble, but I'm glad that's all working. And I'm glad you guys were able to be here and see this. And I was nervous about like saying like, hey, it's ready for people to start using. And I knew there were still a couple of bugs I wanted to iron out, but Jill's like, now sometimes you just gotta push your baby out of the nest. So that's what we're doing here. So hope you guys have a fabulous day. And for those of you who are going to be in Vegas, I look forward to seeing you. And like Jill and I are like super friendly, super ready to talk to everybody. Walk up and say hi, or ask us if we're going for dinner anywhere that night. You never know, we might not be. We might be game to hang out. So please do that. We'd love to see you and chat with you. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Ciao.